Today, we're digging into a really fascinating piece of Florida history, the early days of Pass-a-Grille. Now, you might know names like Silas Dent, maybe Zephaniah Phillips when you think about this historic spot, but we're zeroing in on one person whose impact was profound, almost surprising, really, George Lizotte. He seems to be the one who really put Pass-a-Grille on the map. We've sifted through the historical records to try and understand his influence, and I think we're in for some genuinely unexpected discoveries here.
Oh, absolutely. It's so true, isn't it? How often the real catalysts, the foundational figures in a place's story, they kind of get overshadowed later on, maybe by, bigger developments or names that came after. So this deep dive, it isn't just about listing what Lizotte did. It's about illuminating why his actions were so incredibly effective, how he managed to transform this really remote, almost forgotten spot into a sought-after destination. It's quite a testament to what one visionary person can achieve.
Okay, so let's jump right into Lizotte's background then, because honestly, it's not what you'd picture for an early Florida pioneer. When I think early Florida developer, I imagine someone maybe a bit more, rugged. But we're talking about Georges-Henri Lizotte, French national born way back in 1861. And he studied at the Sorbonne in Paris. How does someone with that kind of background end up shaping a remote fishing village?
Well, that background is absolutely key, I think, especially his experience as a sort of global tour guide. He wasn't just educated in the academic sense. He was incredibly market savvy. He'd built a career as a travel agent, running excursions along the Nile in Egypt, even at the Taj Mahal in India. And that's not just like a fun trivia point. It shows he understood what high-end travelers wanted. He knew how to create an experience. He could see potential in a place where others just saw, remoteness. That's a crucial takeaway, right? Applying sophisticated, maybe outside insights to what looks like a blank slate.
Right. So he brings this global perspective over to the U.S. Late 1890s. He's working for the famous Thomas Cook Travel Agency. And his main job, guiding British tourists who were curious about this new state of Florida, was actually during one of these work trips. He first visited Port Tampa in 1896. And it was on an excursion from there. That's when he first saw Pass-a-Grille. And apparently it was love at first sight.
And that personal discovery, it really puts Pass-a-Grille's early history into perspective, doesn't it? I mean, you mentioned Zephaniah Phillips. He's seen as the first official homesteader, 1886. And sure, by 1900, a few folks from Tampa Bay had built some cottages, mainly for the fishing, which was excellent. But here's the thing. In 1899, when Lizotte came back to Tampa with this vision, Pass-a-Grille was still incredibly isolated. No real infrastructure, no post office, no regular transport. You could only get there by boat. So that just highlights the completely blank slate he was looking at.
And he moved fast, didn't he? Once he was captivated. Within just 2 years of returning to Tampa, he buys 3 lots from Roy Hanna, buys an existing cottage too, and then quickly transforms it into his very first hotel, the Bonhomie.
Yeah.
The name's quite charming too. It translates from French, right? Good-natured man.
Exactly. Which maybe hints a bit at his style.
Yeah. Now, paint a picture of those early days. The accommodations. Room and board for only $7.50. But conditions were, let's say, basic. Very basic. Bathing in the Gulf. Fresh water from rain barrels. So thinking about that, these really humble beginnings.
Yeah.
What was the secret sauce? How did this basic operation take off so quickly and become such a success?
Well, I think the genius here was Lizotte's audacious strategies,
Yeah.
Real marketing flair, even back then. A huge driver was his fishing feat. He caught the very first tarpon using a rod and reel from a rowboat right off the island. Think about that. First one. It got publicized and became a total game changer. Suddenly, anglers were pouring in. Everyone wanted to try and replicate that catch on this remote island.
He created the buzz himself.
He absolutely did. And he didn't just, sit back. He personally led these fishing trips. And here's where it gets really clever. He offered this unique guarantee to drum up business. He promised to pay the costs for any angler who came specifically for a tarpon trip but didn't manage to catch one.
No way. That's bold.
Incredibly bold. But think about the message it sent. It built instant trust, created excitement, showed he absolutely believed in the experience he was selling.
He definitely knew how to market. But okay, beyond the fishing hype, what about just the basic needs of a tiny remote town? Here's a detail I found amazing. Lizotte opened the town's very first post office, right there in the Bonhomie lobby.
Ah, really?
Yeah. And get this, in 1905, when he applied to be postmaster, they asked about the population. His answer, 2 hogs, 2 pigs, 2 humans, and 16 chickens.
You're kidding.
Nope. He declared the total population was 22, and he got the job. held it for 7 years.
That's incredible.
It just shows his, hands-on, almost audacious way of building the infrastructure he needed. He wasn't waiting around.
That anecdote just perfectly sums up his resourceful spirit, doesn't it? But there was another big driver for the Bonamy's success beyond just the fishing. It was his shore dinner plan.
Ah, yes. Tell us about that.
This was apparently quite novel and hugely popular, a 7-course meal for just 50 cents. And Lizotte would summon everyone by blowing a cow horn.
A cow horn. Classic.
Oh, right. And it wasn't just anglers anymore. It started attracting industrialists, politicians, people coming over for these feasts. Clam chowder, all-you-can-eat stone crabs. It really broadened the appeal of Pass-a-Grille, made it about the whole experience, the unique food, not just the fishing. He understood you need more than one hook, so to speak.
Okay, so Lizotte's making waves. Pass-a-Grille is starting to buzz, but it's still really hard to get there, right? What was that next crucial step? The thing needed to really open the floodgates.
You're spot on. Transportation was the absolute key. Now, Lizotte strongly supported this, but he didn't solely create it. It was more of a partnership. The streetcar company in St. Pete, remember, Gulfport was called Veteran City back then, and it was kind of a distant stop.
Right.
They partnered up with some ferry companies around 1908. They realized, the streetcar line ending way out there wasn't sustainable without more demand for the whole trip. So they coordinated the streetcar arrivals with the boat departures heading straight to Pass-a-Grille.
Ah, a coordinated system.
Okay.
Smart.
Very smart. And the impact was revolutionary. Think about it. No bridges for cars back then. This combined streetcar ferry route. It transformed getting to Pass-a-Grille. What used to take maybe a week became a simple day trip.
Wow. It's a huge difference.
Massive. The route became incredibly popular. People started coming in droves, as the saying goes, and that directly fed Lizotte's business and boosted the island's overall popularity massively.
And naturally, the success of the Bonamy, fueled by the fishing, the dinners, now the easier access, it meant it was quickly outgrown. So Lizotte tears it down in 1910 and builds the much larger Hotel Lizotte.
Yeah.
And we're talking significant scale now. A wooden structure, 60 rooms, a dining room big enough for 300 guests.
Yeah.
Business was clearly booming.
Absolutely booming. And the consequence of all that success, Lizotte's success, really can't be overstated. It was largely because his business was thriving, because he generated so much buzz and popularity that heavily influenced what people called the mad rush.
A mad rush.
Yeah, the mad rush to build a bridge finally connecting to Long Key, which was Pass-a-Grille Island back then. And that bridge, of course, led to the serious, rapid development of the town and the island that we see traces of today. Lizotte truly laid the groundwork.
But, like so many stories of pioneers, Lizotte's journey wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? There were significant challenges later on. His Grand Hotel Lizotte, the peak of his success, it tragically burned down in 1918.
Yeah, a terrible blow.
And he suspected arson, didn't he? By World War I German sympathizers.
Yeah.
That was the theory going around at the time, apparently.
Right, that was the suspicion. And the financial hit was just devastating. Think about this. Just months before the fire, he'd apparently been offered $75,000 for the whole business. A huge sum back then.
Wow.
But the insurance, he only recovered $10,000.
So that's crushing.
Just crushing. Not just the money, but imagine pouring everything into building that from nothing and then gone.
And the bad luck didn't stop there, sadly. He then leased a bathing pavilion, which got wrecked by flooding and damage from that really bad 1921 hurricane.
The big one, yeah.
After that series of hits, he apparently decided to move to the mainland. Sold his citrus grove over in Lealman, built a couple of hotels in St. Pete itself.
Yeah, you can see why he might have felt the island run was over for him then. And those events, combined with, the bigger economic picture, the end of the Florida land boom was coming. Plus, he apparently had some chronic health issues later in life. It shows how even the most visionary folks can be hit by forces way beyond their control.
True.
But it also speaks to his resilience, He kept going, kept building, adapting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And despite all those setbacks, all the hardships, his spirit, his positive outlook, it seemed to shine through right to the very end. George Lizotte lived to be 98, passed away January 10th, 1960. And apparently, just before he passed, he said something quite profound. I have lived a rich, full life, and I have contributed something, I think, to St. Petersburg. No, I am a rich man, my friends.
What a statement.
Isn't it? Defining richness, not by, dollars and cents, but by contribution, by impact. It's really quite moving.
It really is. And it brings up, I think, an important question for us and maybe for everyone listening. How does Lizotte's story really demonstrate the power of just one visionary person, not just to build a business, but to literally shape the landscape, the culture of a whole community? What was it about his specific mix of like worldliness from his travels and that very hands-on, roll-up-your-sleeves entrepreneurial spirit that let him see potential where others just saw sand and water, and then actually build something lasting?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for you, listening today makes you think, what does it really mean to be well-informed about a place? It's not just knowing the current restaurants or attractions, is it?
Yeah. It's about understanding that layered history. The audacious individuals like Lizotte who laid the actual foundations. So maybe next time you're exploring somewhere, even your own town, think about what unexpected hidden nuggets of history might be waiting there. And think about how much impact one single determined person can actually have on a place.